Good morning, guys. Happy Monday. If you are in need of a refresher, a little pick-me-up, you need to get away from the diamonds and the dazzle of the Beverly Hills gossip and take a ride with me on up to Orange County to talk TAMARA J, Andy Cohen, and the Jeff Lewis podcast, then this video is for you. Go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, turn those notifications on. These women live on two different coasts, okay, guys? So there could be stuff going on when you think that it's nighttime, but it's not nighttime, on the other side of the country. So if you want to be up to date on what is going on, then you got to turn those notifications on. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started. So Jeff Lewis, he's like my new favorite podcaster. The man has a special skill of asking people things in different ways and getting different responses, something out of them. Like, he's not just like a cut and dry, ask the question, they say they can't answer it or give us a bullshit answer, and he just keeps it pushing. He like puts them in the car, drives them down the road, gets them a milkshake, takes them around the block past the kids at the park, and slides back in at home and like uses a couple of different words, catches them off guard, and gets us just something, right? So Andy Cohen comes on this podcast, and I swear I can see Jeff Lewis making these moves. It's so funny. And he, of course, asked Andy Cohen about TAMARA J coming back to the Real Housewives of Orange County, because you guys know Jeff Lewis is not a Heather Dubrow fan. He's been very public about the fact that he thinks she's very rude and ostentatious, and she's rude to waiters, she's rude to cast, she's rude to production. He just has been very public about how he feels about her. So he asked Andy Cohen about TAMARA coming back because he says he feels like nobody on the cast really challenged Heather except for Noella. Okay. Andy Cohen's response was not what we had expected, because we've been hearing from lots of reliable sources and people that she's coming back next season. They even adjusted the filming schedule to enable her to do that. Well, he said that how can he have someone on a show if they have a podcast about behind the scenes information, right? Like, how can I have a Housewives on my franchise that does a behind the scenes podcast? And I don't know what Jeff Lewis's response was to that, because I think it was just kind of like he didn't really know what TAMARA's podcast was, if that's technically what it was or not. I mean, we all know it was like a review kind of podcast, but as I've told you guys before, TAMARA and Teddy did not come up with the podcast together. Teddy had this podcast after she got fired from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. She started like Tea in a Pod or something like that. It didn't really pick up, but when she picked up TAMARA, they turned it into Two Teas in a Pod. And now TAMARA and Teddy are like the bestest of friends, which I completely think is an insincere relationship. I think it's TAMARA working to get more sources and connections and ways to try to get back onto the Real Housewives. And I'm going to tell you why I feel like this is the case. Like, she would drop Teddy like a hot potato, okay? Like a hot potato, if it meant getting back on the Real Housewives of Orange County. I'm sorry. Listen to what she says. She says that Andy Cohen's getting secondhand advice about her podcast. He's never even listened to it. She texted him, asked him. He hasn't had a chance to listen to it, right? She says he's getting secondhand information from a cast member. So, of course, Jeff Lewis is like, well, is it Gina? No. Is it Emily? No. Okay. Is it Noella? No. Okay. Is it Heather? Yes, it's Heather. Heather's giving Andy secondhand information and making it seem like it's a tell-all podcast. She says that it's because there was a photo released early from the Real Housewives of Orange County cast reunion. It was a photo from the set. When no photos or anything had been released, it was a leaked photo, and Teddy had watermarked the TAMARA tells the story as if she doesn't know that this happened or isn't even happening. Somehow Teddy has a connection in Orange County, and she gets a photo of like the cast and, the setup, the stage, and she watermarks it and posts it before Tamara knows about it, and Tamara was upset, but it was already done after the fact, so what was she supposed to do? But she says that's why Heather is saying that it is a behind the scenes type of podcast, when it's not. It's just two ex-housewives reporting on new housewives. And she said that she reached out to Andy Cohen to speak with him directly to explain that to him. So I immediately got the feeling that she, you know, last week, 2 weeks ago, she was bestest friends with Teddi. They were making best friend TikToks. They were going, she was her +1 to the MTV Music Awards. Tamara had went on Twitter and asked people to, you know, lay off of Teddi, give her another chance, you know, it just never seemed super authentic to me, because they're two very, very different people, which sometimes that does make for really great friends. But to see how well of a friendship Kyle and Teddi have together, and seeing how different Kyle and Tamara are as well, it's like, that's not the kind of person that Teddi would even really hang out with either. I don't think either, you know, if it weren't for time, place, you know, circumstance, what have you, at the very moment. So I think they would both drop each other. But Tamara's ready to drop her if Andy Cohen says, kick 2 T's to a pod to the curb and, you know, come up and film. I think that she would. I think she definitely would. So I want to know what you guys think about that. Do you think that Teddi would drop Tamara? And do you think that Tamara would drop Teddi? Either one would drop each other, I guess, if it meant a spot back on the Real Housewives, Beverly Hills or Orange County, because, you know, Teddi so graciously let us know that when she was casted, she was given the option to be an Orange County cast or Beverly Hills, and she chose Beverly Hills. And I don't believe that story for 1 second. They cast you with an idea of where they want to put you. So they're not just going to cast you and be like, okay, since you're the only woman that has a home in 2 locations where we film, you can have your choice. I don't believe that for 1 second. Now here's where the juicy part comes in. Oh my gosh, guys, it was so funny. It was so funny. It reminded me of like that Watch What Happens Live moment when Kim Zolciak called in. It's kind of like that, right? So from this, the conversation goes into Heather, and again, how there's been no one on this season to challenge her, and et cetera, et cetera. And then he goes into the allegations about the production person, and the whole first scene that, you know, the first party at the DeBros house, when they find out that Nicole had sued Terry, and the DeBros thought Bravo and Evolution were setting them up. They really thought that. I really truly believe that. They said that Terry was aggressive with producers. He was yelling, screaming, spitting. And then of course the allegation of Heather, again, all of this being allegations of, I don't know if she pushed at the cameraman, pushed him against the wall or filming. I don't know exactly what the real allegations were, but it was some sort of a physical altercation the night of the party at their home when they found out that Nicole had sued Terry, okay? So Jeff gets Kelly Dodd on the line, okay? So now we have Jeff, Tamara, and Kelly Dodd's on the line. And you know Kelly. Kelly names the guy. I'm not going to do that, but I guess he's okay with his name being out there because he's since been fired, but has since found another job. The alleged production member that this happened to, okay? And this is why I think that Noella's story would have been a little bit more credible had she said someone that works for the cast, for production, said that Heather was physical. When Noella first told the story, she made it sound like she's seen it herself, which she did not. She probably heard it from him, because Kelly claimed that he called each of them individually, Tamara, Shannon, Emily, and her, and told them all the same exact thing, that yes, Heather allegedly had gotten physical with him the night at the party. He got fired for it. Kelly said what her opinion was on it, and it was terrible, and he was like a nice guy, and Heather doesn't have the right to do that, and Kelly's like, he said that he talked to you, Tamara, and that, Tamara, you told him to be quiet about it because it was going to ruin his career. And she was like, yeah, I did. I told him to be quiet and it was going to ruin his career. And she's like, and they fired him. And they did. They fired him. He's working for Netflix now, but he came out, his name's out there. I think he wants people to know at this point because he feels, you know, kind of screwed over, because we have to remember Terry has that whole botched, like, you know, his show Botched that he does with whatever production company that's through Bravo as well. So it's like a kind of another Lisa Vanderpump situation when you have someone in there that's got their foot in different, you know, whatever you want to call it. They have their hands in a lot of different mix. They're working with a lot of different people at Bravo. And so it gives them, you know, it changes the situation a little bit. It changes the circumstances a little bit, right? Last time Heather was allegedly let go down to a friend role due to issues with a specific production member who is no longer there when she made her return. So on behalf of the gentleman on the production who got fired and physically assaulted allegedly, at least you can leave knowing that Heather did get fired. You know, one time they picked production over Heather. It just wasn't this time. So that's the scoop, guys. That was what was going on with the Jeff Lewis show. It was so funny though when Kelly called in. I was just dying because it reminded me, like I said, of the Watch What Happens Live when Kim Zolciak called in. Speaking of which, we had Atlanta last night, and I do want to give you guys like just a little recap or a review. I know my content's been a little bit straggling lately, and I shared before I've been a little bit under the weather, and I'm coming back, so hopefully no more audio technical issues. Still waiting on a new microphone, so hopefully everyone, the audio is good, and I hope you guys have a great Monday. And like I said, I'll be dropping some more content soon.